Listen, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you is going to shake something deep inside your soul. There's a story unfolding around you right now that's been brewing in the shadows. Today, everything comes to light. Right now, somewhere in this world, someone is typing furiously on their keyboard, fingers bleeding from the intensity of their search. They're scrolling through your social media profiles for the 100th time today, screenshot after screenshot, trying to find that one piece of evidence that will justify the campaign they've been running against you. But here's what they don't understand yet, what they're desperately trying to avoid accepting: there is no evidence. There never was. Everything they've built their attack on is nothing but smoke and mirrors, projections of their own darkness onto your light. The revelation that's about to unfold isn't just about their failure to find dirt on you. It's about something far more sinister, far more calculated. This isn't random hatred. This is spiritual warfare disguised as gossip, manipulation masquerading as concern, and the most dangerous thing of all, a group of people who became so intoxicated by their own lies that they forgot they were lies at all. This is someone who has made you their full-time obsession, their reason for waking up each morning, their twisted purpose in life. They've been at this for months, depending on how long your light has been shining bright enough to threaten their darkness. Every documentary you've watched, every new skill you've learned, every moment of peace you've carved out for yourself, they've been watching. They know your schedule better than some of your closest friends. They know when you're mentoring others, when you're taking time to heal, when you're building something beautiful in your life. But here's where their obsession becomes their downfall. In their desperate hunger to find something wrong with you, they've created an entire network of people who are just as invested in your destruction as they are. They've whispered poison into willing ears, painted you as everything you're not, and convinced others that you're the villain in a story where you're actually the hero. The masterpiece of their manipulation: they found someone close to you, someone who loved you, trusted you, looked up to you, and they fed them a story so convincing, so detailed, so seemingly credible that this person turned against you without even asking for your side. That's the level of evil we're dealing with here, chosen one. They didn't just want to hurt you, they wanted to use the people you care about as weapons against you. What they created wasn't just individual hatred, it was a movement. Imagine 5 or more people, each bringing their own flavor of toxicity to the table, each excited by the prospect of your downfall. They formed what can only be described as an enterprise of destruction, a business built on the currency of your pain. They were so confident in their false intelligence that they began making promises to each other about what they would do once they exposed you. One person claimed they had medical records that would destroy your reputation. Another swore they had witnesses to events that never happened. A third promised they had financial records proving you were living a lie. Each member of this toxic collective brought their own fabricated evidence to the table, and together they built a case that existed only in their shared delusion. But here's what's beautiful about truth. It doesn't need an army to defend it. It doesn't need elaborate schemes or late-night plotting sessions. Truth simply exists, patient and immovable, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself, and that moment is now. The person who started this whole campaign made a critical error. They were so desperate to turn people against you that they promised receipts they didn't have, evidence they couldn't produce, and proof that existed only in their twisted imagination. Now, as their followers begin demanding to see these promised revelations, the House of Cards is collapsing faster than they can rebuild it. The beauty of divine justice is that it often uses the very people who were meant to destroy you as the instruments of your vindication. The same group that was so eager to spread lies about you has now become your greatest defense team, not by choice, but by consequence. They're asking the hard questions now. Where are the medical records you said you had? What happened to those witness statements? Why can't you produce a single piece of evidence for anything you've claimed? The person who orchestrated this campaign is scrambling, making excuses, asking for more time, promising that the evidence is coming soon, but soon has turned into weeks, then months, and still nothing. Meanwhile, your life continues to flourish in ways that directly contradict every lie they've told about you, the financial struggles they claimed you were hiding. Your prosperity speaks for itself, the moral failures they invented. Your character shines brighter with each passing day. The spiritual darkness they tried to attribute to you, the light emanating from your being has become impossible to ignore. This is where the story takes its most dramatic turn. The very people who were supposed to help destroy you are now defending you, not because they've suddenly become your allies, but because they refuse to look foolish any longer. They've realized they've been played, manipulated, used as pawns in someone else's game of destruction. The mastermind behind this operation is experiencing something they never prepared for, complete exposure, not just of their lies, but of who they really are beneath the mask they've worn for so long. Every projection they made onto you was actually a confession of their own darkness. Every flaw they claimed to see in you was actually a reflection of their own broken character. Their obsession with you has cost them everything that actually mattered in their life. Relationships have crumbled because they couldn't stop talking about you. Work has suffered because they spent office hours stalking your social media. Their health has deteriorated because they've been losing sleep over someone who doesn't even think about them. They've literally made themselves sick with hatred while you've been thriving in peace. But the most devastating revelation is yet to come. The person they convinced to turn against you, your soulmate, your closest friend, the one whose betrayal cut deepest, is beginning to see the truth. This person who treated you like royalty, who received your love and loyalty in abundance, who had a front row seat to your authentic character, is starting to question everything they were told. The cognitive dissonance is becoming unbearable for them. How can they reconcile the person they knew intimately with the monster they were told you were? How can they explain the contradiction between your consistent character and the allegations they believed? The answer is simple: they can't, because the allegations were never true. What you're witnessing, Chosen One, isn't just psychological manipulation, it's spiritual warfare at its most sophisticated level. The forces working against you understood something about your destiny that you might not have fully grasped yourself. They saw the power you carry, the influence you wield, the light you bring into dark places, and they knew they had to stop you before you fully stepped into your purpose. The level of coordination in their attack wasn't random. The way they targeted your closest relationships wasn't accidental. The precision with which they tried to destroy your reputation wasn't amateur hour. This was a calculated assault on your divine assignment, orchestrated by entities that understand the spiritual realm better than most humans do. They knew that if they could isolate you from your support system, if they could make you question your own worth, if they could convince you that you were the problem, they could delay or derail your purpose indefinitely. What they didn't account for was the protection that surrounds Chosen Ones, a protection that activates most powerfully when the attack is most intense. Every spell they cast has boomeranged back to them with compound interest. Every lie they told has become a truth about their own character. Every relationship they tried to destroy in your life has become a toxic bond in their own. The spiritual laws they tried to manipulate have turned against them with a vengeance that's both beautiful and terrifying to witness. The person who started this campaign is now facing their worst nightmare, complete exposure without the ability to control the narrative. Their flying monkeys, the people they recruited to help spread lies about you, are now demanding accountability. They want to see the evidence they were promised. They want to understand how they were convinced to participate in something so destructive, based on nothing but fabricated stories. The mastermind is experiencing what can only be described as a complete psychological breakdown. They're watching their carefully constructed web of lies unravel in real time, and they're powerless to stop it. Every day that passes without them producing the evidence they claim to have makes them look more desperate, more delusional, more obviously guilty of exactly what they accused you of. But here's where the story becomes truly poetic. The very qualities they tried to destroy in you, your integrity, your authenticity, your genuine character, are now being reflected back at them in their absence. Their lies have revealed their dishonesty. Their manipulation has exposed their inability to build genuine connections. Their hatred has highlighted their spiritual poverty. The contrast between who you are and who they are has become so stark that even their most loyal followers are beginning to question their allegiance. People are asking uncomfortable questions. If they lied about this, what else have they lied about? If they could fabricate an entire story about someone, how do I know they haven't fabricated stories about me? The financial consequences of their obsession are becoming impossible to ignore. Money that should have been invested in their own growth and success has been spent on investigating you. Opportunities that should have been seized have been missed because they were too busy plotting your downfall. Relationships that could have brought them joy have been sacrificed on the altar of their hatred. But the spiritual consequences are even more severe. Every person they turned against you has become a potential sword in their own back. Every lie they told has become a weight on their conscience. Every moment they spent in darkness has made them more allergic to light. They've literally created their own hell while trying to create yours. The person who was closest to you, the one whose betrayal hurt most deeply, is now experiencing the full weight of their mistake. They're seeing the truth about who you really are, and it's breaking their heart. They're realizing that they traded something precious, your authentic love and loyalty, for a handful of lies and manipulation. This person is desperately trying to find a way back to you, but they're discovering that some bridges, once burned, can't be easily rebuilt. They're learning that trust, once broken, doesn't heal overnight. They're understanding that their decision to believe strangers over someone who had proven their character repeatedly has consequences that extend far beyond the immediate drama. Here's where the story takes a turn that even the most skilled manipulators couldn't have predicted. The divine forces that protect chosen ones have been activated by the sheer audacity of this attack. What was meant to be your destruction has become the catalyst for your elevation to a level you never imagined possible. The timing of their exposure wasn't coincidental, it was divinely orchestrated. Every lie they told was allowed to spread just long enough to reveal the true character of everyone involved. Every person who eagerly participated in spreading gossip about you has been marked and identified. Every individual who chose to believe the worst about you without evidence has shown their true nature. The divine was taking inventory, separating the wheat from the chaff in your life. What's particularly striking is how their own words have become prophetic about their fate. Every curse they spoke over your life has manifested in theirs. Every limitation they tried to place on you has become their prison. Every door they tried to close for you has slammed shut on them. The spiritual laws they attempted to manipulate have turned against them with precision that can only be described as supernatural justice. The very people who were supposed to be your enemies are now being used as instruments of your vindication. The lies they told have become the backdrop against which your truth shines even brighter. The community they tried to turn against you has become witnesses to your character in ways that wouldn't have been possible without their attack. Your response to this level of betrayal and manipulation has revealed depths of your character that you didn't know existed. Your grace under pressure, your refusal to respond with the same tactics they used against you, your commitment to truth, even when lies would have been easier, all of this has been observed and noted by forces both seen and unseen. The opportunities that are now opening up for you wouldn't have been available if you hadn't been tested at this level. The relationships you're building now are with people who have seen you at your lowest and still chose to believe in you. The platform you're being given is one that can only be occupied by someone who has proven their integrity under the most extreme circumstances. You were never meant to walk this path alone. The Obsidian Inner Order isn't just another spiritual community. It's a sanctuary for the exiled, the awakened, the ones who've been gaslit for their gifts and abandoned for their truth. Every week we gather live on Zoom, real people with real faces sharing real stories of transformation. There's a former CFO who embraced their psychic abilities, a seer who broke free from religious oppression, and a healer who survived ritual abuse and found their power. Dozens more join us who understand exactly what you've been through. This is your spiritual family, never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you walk through this awakening alone. Never gonna scroll past your suffering like it's just content. Your exile from the ordinary world wasn't punishment, it was preparation. For this, for us, for the family that chooses you back. Join the Obsidian Inner Order. Link in description. The person who orchestrated this campaign against you is now facing a choice that will determine their fate. They can continue down the path of delusion, doubling down on lies that everyone now knows are lies, or they can face the truth about who they've become and what they've done. The evidence suggests they're choosing the path of deeper delusion, which means their destruction is accelerating. They're now making threats they can't back up, promises they can't keep, and claims that are so outrageous that even their most devoted followers are starting to laugh at them. They've become a parody of themselves, a cautionary tale about what happens when jealousy and hatred consume someone completely. But here's where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. The very qualities they tried to destroy in you, your versatility, your multiple talents, your originality, have become the foundation of your elevation. They hated that you weren't just good at one thing. They despised that you had skills that seemed to flow from some inexhaustible well of creativity and wisdom. They couldn't stand that you were an original, not a copy of someone else, not following a template they could predict or control. Their jealousy wasn't just about what you had, it was about what you were becoming. They saw your transformation accelerating, watched your gifts multiplying, witnessed your influence expanding, and they knew that if they didn't stop you soon, you would become unstoppable. What they didn't realize is that their attack on you was actually the catalyst that would launch you into the very destiny they were trying to prevent. The beauty spells they cast to try to diminish your attractiveness have backfired spectacularly. Instead of making you less appealing, their spiritual attacks have activated a radiance that seems to emanate from within you. People are drawn to you now in ways that transcend physical attraction. They're drawn to your energy, your presence, your authentic power. The very thing they tried to steal from you has been magnified. Their attempts to make you appear unstable, unreliable, or untrustworthy have had the opposite effect. Every lie they told about your character has been contradicted by your consistent behavior. Every fabrication they spread about your integrity has been demolished by your actual choices. The contrast between their accusations and your reality has become so stark that people are beginning to understand that anyone who could lie so boldly about someone so obviously good must be capable of lying about anything. The most devastating revelation for them is watching how effortlessly you've moved forward while they've remained stuck in the same toxic loop. They've been paralyzed by their own hatred while you've been expanding into new territories of success and influence. They've been trapped in the prison of their obsession while you've been breaking free into levels of joy and abundance they can't even comprehend. What's particularly beautiful about this transformation is that you're not just recovering from their attack, you're transcending it entirely. The person they tried to destroy no longer exists because you've evolved beyond their reach. The life they tried to ruin has been replaced by something so magnificent that their original plan seems laughably small in comparison. They aimed to wound you, but instead they initiated your metamorphosis. But here's the most beautiful part of this entire story, Chosen One. While they've been destroying themselves with their obsession over you, you've been building something magnificent. Every day they spent plotting your downfall, you spent creating value. Every night they lost sleep over their hatred, you rested peacefully in your purpose. Every moment they wasted on destruction, you invested in construction. The life you're living now is a direct contradiction to every lie they told about you. Your success is evidence of your character. Your peace is proof of your spiritual maturity. Your continued growth is testimony to your resilience. You haven't just survived their attack, you've thrived in spite of it. The story that began with someone typing furiously in their dark room, searching desperately for evidence that didn't exist, is ending with that same person facing the consequences of their own actions. The web of lies they spun has become their prison. The people they recruited to help destroy you have become the jury that finds them guilty. The evidence they promised to produce has become the proof of their deception. The professional consequences of their obsession are becoming impossible to ignore. Colleagues who once respected them are now questioning their judgment. Business relationships that took years to build are crumbling because people can't trust someone who would fabricate such elaborate lies about another person. The very reputation they tried to destroy in you has been obliterated in themselves. Their health is deteriorating rapidly under the weight of their own hatred. The stress of maintaining so many lies, the anxiety of constantly being on the verge of exposure, the exhaustion from fighting a battle they can never win, it's all taking a devastating toll. They're experiencing what can only be described as a complete systemic breakdown, as if their own body is rejecting the poison they've been feeding it. The copycat behavior they exhibited, trying to imitate your success, your style, your approach to life, has been exposed as the desperate mimicry it always was. They thought they could steal your essence, replicate your magic, duplicate your results. Instead, they've proven that originality cannot be counterfeited and authenticity cannot be manufactured. Their attempts to be you have only highlighted how uniquely, irreplaceably you that you are. The most crushing realization for them is that they've become everything they accused you of being. They claimed you were manipulative while orchestrating elaborate schemes. They said you were deceptive while living a complete lie. They accused you of having ulterior motives while hiding their own agenda. The projection has been so complete that they've literally become their own accusations. Meanwhile, the people they convinced to turn against you are experiencing their own reckoning. They're not just embarrassed, they're horrified by how easily they were manipulated. They're questioning their own judgment, their own ability to discern truth from fiction, their own susceptibility to influence. Some of them are so ashamed of their participation in this campaign that they're withdrawing from social circles entirely. Your soulmate, the one whose betrayal cut deepest, is now experiencing the full weight of their mistake. They're seeing you clearly for the first time since they were poisoned against you, and the contrast between who you actually are and who they were told you were is devastating. They're realizing that they had something precious and threw it away for nothing. The financial blessings, the opportunities, the relationships, the peace, everything they tried to steal from you has not only been restored but multiplied. The isolation they tried to create around you has been replaced by a community of people who see and appreciate your authentic self. The reputation they tried to destroy has been rebuilt on an even stronger foundation. The spiritual attacks they launched against you have been returned to them with interest. Every spell they cast has boomeranged. Every curse they spoke has become their own reality. Every manipulation they attempted has been exposed and turned against them. They've learned the hard way that chosen ones don't fight alone. They fight with an army of divine protection that becomes more powerful the more intensely they're attacked. As this chapter of your story closes, chosen one, a new one is beginning. The person who started this entire campaign is now facing the consequences of their choices alone, exposed with nowhere to hide from the truth about who they really are. Their flying monkeys have abandoned them. Their victims have seen through their lies. Their mask has been permanently removed. But your story isn't ending with their destruction. It's beginning with your elevation. The platform you now occupy, the influence you now wield, the respect you now command, all of it has been earned through the fire of this experience. You've been tested at the highest level and emerged not just intact but transformed. The relationships you're building now are with people who have seen you at your most vulnerable and still chose to believe in you. The opportunities opening up for you are ones that require the exact kind of character you've proven you possess. The calling on your life is clearer now than it's ever been, sharpened by the very forces that tried to destroy it. The person who was closest to you, who betrayed you based on lies, is now desperate to make amends. They're beginning to understand the magnitude of what they threw away, and they're learning that some consequences can't be easily undone. Whether reconciliation is possible depends entirely on your discretion, because you now hold all the power in that dynamic. The story that began with someone obsessing over your every move is ending with that same person's complete irrelevance in your life. They've destroyed themselves with their hatred, while you've built something beautiful with your love. They've become a cautionary tale while you've become an inspiration. They've learned that attacking a chosen one is spiritual suicide, while you've learned that your protection is absolute. The light that threatened them so much it drove them to desperate measures is now shining brighter than ever. The power they tried to steal from you has been multiplied. The purpose they tried to derail has been accelerated. The destiny they tried to prevent has been activated. And somewhere in a dark room, someone is still typing furiously, still searching desperately for evidence that will never be found, still hoping for receipts that don't exist, still believing that if they just look hard enough they'll find something to justify the unjustifiable. But you, chosen one, are no longer concerned with their desperate search. You've moved beyond their reach, beyond their influence, beyond their ability to touch your peace. You've learned the most important lesson of all, that sometimes the greatest gift your enemies can give you is the opportunity to prove that you're everything they said you weren't. The war is over, the truth has prevailed, the chosen one has risen.